happy to welcome you here in Hildesheim in our Center for Advanced Studies, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation. I would like to start our interview with the question, what brought you to philosophy? Why did you study philosophy?
Thank you so much also for the invitation to this wonderful workshop, which interests me for a long time, and I'm so happy to have me. I came to philosophy, I think that was 1992 in Fez, when I decided to study philosophy without any argument, just go ahead and start to study this new discipline for me. Perhaps there was something unconsciousness, but for me, I was fascinated in high school by my teacher of philosophy, by the question of philosophy, the theme of philosophy, this kind of question of political philosophy, moral philosophy, Islamic also philosophy, epistemology, many questions that were very impressive for me as a student in high school. So just decide. I remember that this year when I got my baccalaureate, we subscribed only two students in Fez University. And this university was far from our village, from our small city in Taunat in North Morocco. We decided to study philosophy, and as I mentioned in our workshop, that I have many problems to follow this my study in this discipline in my university, because in this time it was a little bit restricted to keep on your study in philosophy disciple in 1992. And I remember that we signed an agreement not to change our option. And I take the adventure, I signed it, and just I keep on, and in fact I got my bachelor. And what was very difficult for me, what is the future of this philosophy? All the doors were closed. There is no jobs for philosophy in 1990, 1991. I think 1991, the first year for the teacher training of philosophy. Then now more than I remember 1995. In this period from 1992 to the 1994, there is no possibilities to get a job in philosophy. So I said, why I have choose to study philosophy? So I decided to do another baccalaureate in order to study another discipline. So I decided to study law later, but suddenly, fortunately, the door opens. In 1995, the government and the Ministry of Education decided to open the L'École Normale Supérieure, NNS. It's a high school of educator training to teach philosophy in high school, and it was a great news for us. And 1996, I succeeded to get in this L'École Normale Supérieure, and after 1996, I started my first career in high school as a teacher of philosophy. I study philosophy. I teach philosophy 13 years in high school, and in the same times, because I was very interested to keep on my study in postgraduate, When I finished my training, I balanced between teaching philosophy in high school and doing other things in postgraduate. I made my TESA, Diplôme d'études supérieures approfondies, and then I prepared my PhD from 2001 to 2007. It was very long time because it was very hard for me to balance between teaching philosophy. Sometimes I taught philosophy for 20 hours per week, 26 hours, 21. It depends to the time, to the planning. But it was ever for me to do this because research was very important for me. And after my PhD, I applied for a teacher, a lecturer of philosophy, assistant professor in many universities, and I have the chance to get a job in Agadir, where I work now since 2010. 15 years of teaching philosophy, and with a better condition and in comparison with high school, because I have enough time to do research, and I specialize in German philosophy. And if you allow me to tell you my short story and my Geschichte with philosophy and German philosophy and language and German language, because many colleagues in Germany, when they ask me, how did you study, how did you learn German, I told them that this is just autodidact. They will surprise. How did you do this? I tell them that it is my motivation, German philosophy and the German tradition motivate me to, because when I see in my landscape in Morocco and the scholarship in Morocco, the majority of teachers and scholars, they focus more on philosophy in French and little bit in English, I think 2 or 1. But only my teacher, Mr. Bennani, Lachhab Bennani, sometimes take a book of in German and try to show us there is a word of German and try to explain us the importance of German philosophy. And he was very influenced me in order to take this adventure. And when I started to prepare my PhD with him, he gave me one year to prepare the documents, and when I come back to him, he told me, Mohamed, what are you do? What did you done? I told him, this year I focus only on German language. What? This is what I have done. I focus only to learn German. And how did you do this? I told him that is just autodidact in my small village with a small book, 90 lesson, French, German. I study German through French language. This is my small my short story with philosophy in general and German philosophy in specific. And then through many colleagues, I came to intercultural philosophy, and through Sarhan Dweeb, you know, he is
let me ask another question now. Thank you so much for sharing your story. By the way, your German is excellent.
Thank you.
I wonder, nevertheless, that from coming from Morocco, studying Arabic philosophies and later studying German philosophy, you did your PhD on Habermas, that now, currently, you are one of the very few scholars in North Africa who are interested in African philosophy, what means philosophies south of the Sahara.
Yeah.
So how did you come to this interest, and what is the interesting part of the philosophies south of the Sahara, which make you dedicating a lot of work now in this?
Yes, thank you for this great question also. Because really it is very important for me to show this other side of philosophy. Because in Morocco, all the colleagues, they told me, you are the Habermasian, Moroccan Habermasian, because my name is connected with Habermas, because I have published many, three or four books in Arabic, and 10 of articles and I translate and do 10. But I try to push my name away from Habermas. I don't like to be Habermas or Udo Marquardt. I want to be Mohamed Lachhab with different interests on philosophy. But this connection with African philosophy, I came to African philosophy ehrlich sagen, through intercultural philosophy, from a global perspective of how to teach and to study and to look for philosophy from another perspective. Because I'm so tired to keep on only with Western philosophy. I study also French philosophy, American philosophy, because I do many things in this area. But it was the first connection to this question of intercultural philosophy with my colleague Sarhan Dweeb. When he invited me, I remember 2012 in Tunisia, to participate in his project concerning the partnership between German and the Arab world. And we done many workshops. He published, all you know this, 7 volumes about this debate. I know this debate line by line. I read all what is published, and this question of intercultural philosophy interested me, and I try to expand this theory, this perspective, not to focus only in comparison between German philosophy and Arab and Islamic philosophy, but why not other tradition? And I say that English and German, the 2 languages, they were very helpful for me to open my mind to other tradition. When I was in Göttingen working on as a postdoc, because this is another step in my career, my postdoc I have done in Göttingen for 20 years with Professor Steinfath. And in Göttingen, in Lichtenberg College, I focused more on critical theory. But in my private things, I look for works about Chinese philosophy and African philosophy and other things like this. This means for me, this was the first germs to focus on philosophy from other side. So, but when we finished this project with my colleague Sarhan Dweeb, and I published with him many 1 article and 3 peer review, 3 regard croisés, replays. I started to focus on this. In 2019 came the contact with Franziska Dubin also. And this book I have read, I have to mention something. I read this book as manuscript before the publication. When I published this, when the book is published, the edition from England, they sent me a copy. And
the book on Paulin Hontonji.
On Paulin Hontonji, African Philosophy as Critical Universalism. Franziska sent me the manuscript to read it and to write a prize word. In the book there is the prize word, and my prize word is, I consider Hontonji as the introduction of African philosophy. And I told to my colleague that this is the introduction that I look for. I look to write this introduction of African philosophy, and I have this idea to write an introduction to African philosophy, and I read many things about this question. And in this time, in translating this paragraph and this chapter without any information to Francisca or to anyone, just to make a pleasure for me to teach this thing for my students. And with other small texts, like I mentioned, Shimamanda and Sulaiman Bashir Dian and so on. Then I think 2022 I finished the book. And then I informed Francisca that I have translated the book of Hontonji. She told me, really? Yes, this is my story and my interest to African philosophy, and I promise to do more than this in the Moroccan context, especially in Agadir. There are many colleagues, especially in Islamic studies, in the history department, they have many things about the history of Moroccan culture and the relationship between Morocco and Sub-Saharan. There is a master about cultural and religious relationship between Morocco and Sub-Saharan. And this is because Agadir, it's close to this. Historically speaking, the south of Morocco is Agadir, and Agadir is the capital of the south of Morocco. And the trade, even the trade from Morocco, from Agadir to the south, this is the road from Sawira, Agadir to Mauritania and to the middle of Africa. Yes, this is one side of my interest of African philosophy, and thanks to also to the I know this project of Hildesheim. I know it from before to come to here. I know the global perspective, and I read the book of your book. I have already read it in 2023 completely in Münster, and something for Rodolphe and many colleagues. So just I mentioned this. English and German language, both languages, they were very helpful for me to move toward philosophy from a global perspective, and even the Latin America philosophy. I read many things of Henrique Dussel, and I use it because when I prepare my article concerning the reception of Mohamed Lachhab in German context, I contact in this moment Henrique Dussel. I read a book, his book about about his critique to modernism and postmodernism, and he mentioned the importance of Mohamed Lachhab as a philosophical background from Morocco, from the Islamic, in order to criticize the Eurocentrism. And they say, from where comes this Henrique Dussel? And they started to look for about the book of Philosophy of Liberation, Ethics of Globalization, and I became familiar with the question of the philosophy of liberation and the tradition, philosophical tradition in Latin America, which is very different to North America, Africa, or South Sub-Saharan. This is this year, for example, I taught to my students Confucius and Benubaja and the dialogue of Plato, Othefron, and to lead them to understand what kind of philosophy we need today from this global perspective, without mentioning to them that I criticize Eurocentrism or something like this. I don't say this. I just put them in front of this different text and lead them to judge and to evaluate the importance of the quality of argument, or the quality of the topics, or the quality of the text. This is
Yeah, let me come to my last question now. You mentioned already the historical connections between North Africa and Southern Africa. A very famous example is, of course, Ahmed Baba of Timbuktu, who lived for a while in Morocco, forcefully, but anyway, he lived there and he was teaching there and later returned to Timbuktu. So there are historical, intellectual connections. How do you see the future of the connection between the philosophies of Northern Africa and Southern Africa?
Yeah, this is another good question, and perhaps this is the future also of this connection. For that reason, I said that in Morocco, many scholars they focus more on the influence of Moroccan mission, of Moroccan culture in Sub-Saharan Africa. But I told them, why not to mention also the vice versa. There is this relationship between North and South. It's reciprocal. Ahmed Baba and Timbuktu and Kunti, they have influenced many scholars in Moroccan fiqh. And the example that you mentioned, Ahmed Baba in Marrakesh, however, he is forced to come to by Ahmed al-Mansour in Marrakesh. But what we have to say for the scholars and that the period of Ahmed Baba in Marrakesh was the flourished one for him. He published and he writes many books in Marrakesh, because he wasn't in a prison, he wasn't in a jail, he taught his ideas in the mosque, and he has many disciples in Morocco, and they came from Fez, from other cities, because he will very known in Morocco. I'm not interested more in this kind of fiqh, but this is one of the main reasons that I want to focus more on this tradition, because what interests us in this, not especially the fiqh, but the kind of argument, the kind of idea that developed by scholars like this, by Timbuktu, by Kunti, by other fuqaha, because look, we mentioned here the African Catholicism philosophy. I just wonder why not to talk about the influence of Islamic tradition on African philosophy, especially I have the question, but I didn't mention it. The logic. Look, they taught logic for many fuqaha, because logic was an instrument for this to defend the fatawi, to defend the idea that our argument is based on logic, and logic was an instrument. For that reason, in my presentation, I mentioned that logic later at the university, the philosophers, they try to develop the study of logic, because they try to make logic as theory, not only as a tool. Why? Because before in Karawiyin, in the Madaris of teaching Quran and Hadith and Islamic tradition and theology, Islamic theology, they focus on logic as a tool. How we can use logic in order to defend the Sharia, to defend the fatwa, and to rationalize it. So this is kind of philosophy today. We can develop it, and to show that this relationship between Timbuktu, as Suleiman Bashir Dian mentioned in his book, the meaning of Timbuktu. For me, not only the meaning of Timbuktu, but the meaning of Ben Yusuf in Marrakesh, and the meaning of Al-Qarawiyyin in Fez, and the meaning of Al-Qayrawan in Tunisia, and the meaning of Al-Azhar because they have the same. But Timbuktu is not only a school, Timbuktu is a civilization. Thousands of manuscripts that need more to be investigated in order to show the importance of the idea circulated. I just can say that from time to time I ask colleagues in history, because the historian, they can help us. They can help us because the book of history, we can find many elements about the quality of thought that circulated in this area between south and north.
Yeah, thank you very much for your work. Thank you very much for your efforts to re-establish the connections between North and South Africa. And thank you very much for coming to Hildesheim.
Thank you so much. Thank you again for the invitation and for this grateful workshop.